Welcome to Hacksaw Shed. In this video I'd like to tell you about my Rapidor Manchester power hacksaw. I was interested to get one of these because as an apprentice I used one. It's very old school, very oily, clunky, wears away, but actually works very well indeed. I bought my Rapidor saw from eBay off a guy who was about 90 miles away, and I picked it up in the car. It weighs about 200 kilos, so heading towards a quarter of a ton, I suppose. And I managed to get it into the car by splitting it here. This top section comes separately from the stand. They both weigh about as much. They're made of cast iron. And when I got it, it didn't look like this. It was painted green and it wasn't running. I got two sets of jaws with it, which were quite useful. The guy had bought it because he was a hobbyist with lathes and various other things in his garage, and he got a bandsaw. And the problem for him was he kept snagging the bandsaw and breaking the blade. So he thought he'd try his luck with this old thing. But he never actually got it running. I think it was an idea for a project, but he just didn't get round to it, so he flogged it off on eBay and I picked it up that way. And renovating it was really a surprising amount of work, just to get all the grease off it, get the old paint off it, to do the repairs that I will describe, and to get it running smoothly was really a surprising amount of work for the size of the thing. But now I'm extremely happy with it. It cuts very square and accurately when I set it up right, and I can put a big piece of work in. I think it takes 6-inch diameter is its largest bar that it can take, and I just set it going, leave it for as long as it wants, and it stops when it's finished, and it's a dream really. The main parts to point out on this saw are, first of all, this large vise, which has two positions for this back jaw, here and here, and this sliding jaw comes right back to here. So actually you can clamp quite large work, but you have to make sure that when the saw is reciprocating, the work falls within the stroke of the blade. Each jaw then has a rotating part so that the jaws can be set at an angle like this or an angle like this for the work that you're cutting. Another thing to point out then, over here we have a damper plunger which is full of oil, so that on the back stroke this mechanism, this dash pot here, lifts the blade so it doesn't rub as the blade strokes backwards, but it allows it to cut on the forward stroke. So that's the damper in operation there, stopping the blade from falling. And as we lift it, it makes an amazing noise. Under this guard is a large pulley with a V-belt which is driven from the motor below. This lever engages the drive, and as I push that down, it sets this trip lever. The trip lever is operated by this peg. As the saw works its way through the work and it comes to the end, the blade drops to its lowest point. This pushes this, which releases this, which releases the drive. So let's see that in operation. So I take out the stand, the saw drops slowly as it works its way down the dash pot. This lever is now pushed. This is not tripped because the motor's not running, but there you are. The driver's now dropped out automatically. Let's see it in operation. Turn the power on. Set the drive lever. Take the stand off. Press go. Turn the power off. So let's try it out on this old piece of angle iron. Drop it into the vise, clamp it up. If you were particularly concerned about the angle, check the angle. When I'm cutting anything to any sort of accuracy in this, I actually hacksaw a little notch in it, because when it's starting the blade can wander and then it follows that later and it could be offline. So I've actually just put a little nick in it. Just check that I've got it lined up. Yes, it's lined up. Okay. Press the drive lever. Now sometimes the drive lever is, you can't press it because of the way it's lined itself up. And so I just bring it round a little bit. Now it will engage. Turn on the power. Take the stand away. Get the drive away. Put a little bit of oil on. There we are, done. Hopefully you can see that. And that would be pretty square, I think, if I tried that and checked it. That's very nicely cut. So just a bit of hand cam work to point a few things out. The first thing is, this is not the original motor setup. This has been improved, you could say, modified. It was like this when I got it. The jaws didn't work that well, and probably didn't work that well from new, because the position of the screw thread with the two jaws didn't line up. When the jaws got close together, they would bind, because they were out of line, vertically out of line. And actually I can't feel it just now, but there is a position on the bed where the bed's worn, where the jaws have been binding, so I had to do some work to improve that. Another area where I had to do some work was this bearing here has a large bronze bush in it, and that bronze bush was extremely worn to be oval shaped. And also the main shaft was also quite badly worn, so I had to repair those. This is the bush that came out, and it's not so easy to see, but it is quite oval. Certainly at one end it's quite oval, so I had to buy a big piece of bronze and remachine a bush. You can see the crank in there, and I finished off by fitting improved electrics. I hope that's interesting for you. Thank you for watching Hacksby Shed.